Welcome back, Buccaneers fans, to another episode of Hear the Cannons, presented by BucsGameday.com. If you haven't already checked out our website, head over there, head up to your search bar, Google, wherever you search, type in BucsGameday.com. We've got tons of pre-draft stuff going out. That's what we're discussing tonight. We've got our first and final mock draft with a draft just 1 week away. We're super excited to talk about it. But before we get going on that, I just want to send our condolences and thoughts and prayers up to the people in Tallahassee that were affected by the unfortunate tragedies that happened there today. Sending all of our thoughts and prayers out there. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and bring in our panel of guests tonight. As normal, we have my co-host and lead editor at BucsGameday.com, River Wells. We also have writer and reporter Colin Howboom. We also have our founder and creator of BucsGameday.com, Logan Robinson, as well as writer and reporter, who is our most recent guy joining our team, and Darius Hayes. We appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys coming on here, helping me and River out as always. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. I think Logan is going to be on the clock with the first round pick. We are going to be using PFF's mock draft simulator today, and really looking forward to it. I haven't run any myself, but let's go ahead and dive in and enter this draft, fellas. So on the clock here at number 1, we're going to go ahead and start this bad boy up. Tennessee Titans are making their picks. Let's go ahead and resume and see where the Bucs land.
Oh, I'm nervous. I'm nervous because if they pick.
All right. So you've got 7 people interested in trading for the 19th overall pick here. If you want to see who's already been taken, Logan, we can run through that real quick as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's look and see who has been selected in this right here, because I think we all are expecting for. Just depends if this is on us. I'd probably go and find someone that's not on the defensive side, just because I love the offense and I like the intrigue of that. But Todd Bowles is most certainly likely headed in the defensive side with Jason Light.
Jahdae Barron at 8. Wow.
Yeah. River, you and I were up there at the NFL Combine. He killed at least the media interview part, and I could only imagine those in-person ones too did very well. He's a very delightful prospect.
He killed it this season too.
Yeah.
Azaraku going shortly before isn't ideal, I would imagine.
Yeah. No, I'm like looking through.
Cincy at 17 is
interesting. I'm gonna start off a little fun here. Why not? Round 1. We've all seen a lot of these names.
You want to trade back at all?
Wait, go back up just a little bit. Can you go back? There's a name that I want to make sure that did not get taken yet.
It might be easier to show best available. Who's available, Caleb?
Yeah, I can.
There's a way to show that. This is fun. I'm already in like a tricky situation.
Mike Green still on the board.
Yeah, that's something that the Bucs would look for.
Character concerns of Mike Green.
Jalen Walker.
Yeah, give me Jalen Walker.
Okay.
Give me Jalen Walker. Starting there with the Bulldogs. I think, the Bucs, of course, are looking for someone. I think for predicting what the Bucs are going to do in the first round, they're going to be on the defensive side and try to get somebody that can bring pressure. Them, of course, making some moves in the offseason helps a little bit. But I think this is a smart move on this end. And there's nothing better than getting some SEC and Georgia talent on the defensive side of the ball. And definitely what Todd Bowles likes to do with his schemes, feels like this could work. This would be just a match made almost in heaven.
Yep. So Jalen Walker off the board. I like the pick, considering that some of the guys that the Bucs had probably higher on their board, or Jalen Walker probably would have been off the board in the draft. We probably would all agree with that. But seeing the BC edge, Michael going off the board and Jihad going off the board. So I like the pick for the Bucs. They need an inside linebacker, and you can kind of move them around if you need to, and even play them off the edge and be able to blitz the quarterback.
Look at the Steelers there. My personal team going Sanders. Oh my God! Please.
I don't think Jalen Walker is going to play inside linebacker as much as he's going to play edge, I think. So I think that would be definitively more of an edge rusher sort of pick, which the Bucs could use in that room, given that they've got Hassan Reddick there, but they need some more firepower off the edge there. And he's versatile and can work in a Todd Bowles scheme that way. But yeah, I think that would be it'd be interesting because I like edge rusher more than I like linebacker in the first round, to be completely honest with you. So I think if he's still on the board, it's not a bad pick. I don't know if he will be able to be talking about.
I think it's unlikely he'll be on the board. River, you're bang on. Like it seems I feel like almost every team is evaluating him as an edge rusher, and I think I would be surprised if he makes it out of the top 15 picks, let alone all the way down to 19. But like Logan, I would have been very disappointed if you did not pull the trigger on Jalen Walker. I'm a big fan of him. I think his best days are ahead of him, and a guy who did play inside linebacker, though, that experience would still serve him, especially in a Todd Bowles scheme. Even if you're occupying an edge rusher role, we all know Bowles likes to drop his outside linebackers into coverage. That's something, at least he has some experience with playing in the middle of the defense for Georgia. But he's got all the tools and the mentality to succeed off the edge. So I think that would be a home run pick for the Bucs.
Can we check Caleb on the NFC South and who they selected here in the first round as well? Above.
Yes, we can. Let's see. You got Michael Williams here. Obviously, edge from Georgia going to the Atlanta Falcons at pick 15.
Barron went to the Panthers, and then Matthew Golden, the Saints.
So back-to-back Texas guys going to the South.
Jihaad Campbell, worth mentioning, going at 13. He's a guy who I think everyone is connecting to the Buccaneers because of their need at inside linebacker. He's dealing with the labrum surgery in his shoulder, which has brought up some concerns. But in this scenario, he's off the board at 13 to the Dolphins. For anyone who's wondering.
And my last comment on this, I feel like when we predict these names, we talk about the top three usually for like a month or so, and then Jason Light says, "You're an idiot. We're not even thinking about that player. He's not even. We're not selecting him." Jason Light's wild, and there could be someone here that we're continuously talking about, and then when that day comes next Thursday night, off the board, and it's someone that we weren't even projecting and talking about a whole ton, and that's just the Jason Light kind of way.
It's a great point. For all we know, Donovan Ezeraku and Jihaad Campbell aren't even on his board. But even though the assumption is those guys are right at the top, so yeah,
absolutely. We'll keep things moving here. Heading into our round 2 pick, we'll continue to resume and see who's available once that comes up. And our second round pick is going to be going to Darius here. So once the Bucs are on the clock, Darius, it'll be all yours, buddy. So you just direct me on where you want, what you want me to do.
Let's kind of see where the players have fell.
All right.
If you don't mind going back, just up.
Is that Carson Schwarzenegger going one pick before Tampa Bay there that I just saw? Because that sucks.
I'm going to get there in a second, but here we are. This is the end of the first round for you, Darius. Malachi Starks going, Mike Green going there to the Houston Texans. Let's see here. Luther Burden, Washington getting shout out to Commander Game Day getting a wide receiver there. Luther Burden, so cool there. James Pierce dropping to the late first round. Probably a little bit higher than a lot of people probably have him at the moment, considering the concerns with him. Keep going through here. Jack Beck here, TCU. Azareye'h Thomas, who has recently visited the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, going to New Orleans at pick 40. Nick Scourton, another edge that has been on the Buccaneers' radar, to the Bears at 41. Xavier Watts, safety, off the board. Trey Amos, another corner, and Maxwell Hairston.
A lot of big Bucs targets off the board here.
Big Bucs targets
too.
A lot of corners.
Yep, a lot of corners. So that's where we're kind of at. I can bring up
Schwarzenegger right before.
You can go to the original. Go to DBs.
Okay, let's see here.
Benjamin
Corners
Morrison
or safety?
Ben Morrison. I was just about to say that. That would be interesting.
I need to go back.
For sure.
All right. You were saying Ben Morrison?
Yeah, I think the only thing you would think about with him is the lack of play in 24.
Can we see what other
Yeah.
But let's see the other Gs. I just want to see all that are available.
Go ahead and see what we got here.
Really corners for real.
I don't know why it keeps trying to get me.
Hey, we're treating this like a real draft because you get a good 5.
Right.
Well, this is going in the second round. What do you get? Is it 4 minutes?
Oh, there we go.
Or is it 3
Okay,
minutes?
Darian Porter, Dorian Strong. I mean, you can kind of stop. Oh, Kobe Bryant. No, he's late round. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I would probably go Benjamin Morrison here. That would be a really great option for them, talent-wise, just to pair with that room. Their talent, showing big playability. I know him not playing in 2024 could be a concern of Jason Light, but I feel like this is a pick that, honestly, the way that this iteration of this draft's going, he kind of fell there, which is you're gonna bank on the talent. So that's where I would go.
Yeah, I think with all the corners going off the board that were kind of on the radar for the Buccaneers, Benjamin Morrison makes a lot of sense. I think, he's played in kind of at Notre Dame. It's kind of a professional setting. He knows how to play the game well. I think those concerns about injury haven't really impacted Jason from taking a pick in the past, and I think it would definitely be a good fit. You do still have Jamel Dean, and you still also do have Zion McCollum there as your 2 starters, and the safety position might be able to be looked at later. And I just think it's a really overall really good pick here and solid pick. Not necessarily going to be a game changer, but right off the bat, but the ability to grow into one of those guys that, if Dean does eventually move on and you're getting younger at the position. So I think that fits into the mold of what the Buccaneers are looking for.
I think it's worth mentioning. Sorry. I think it's worth mentioning, like, Benjamin Morrison was a potential first rounder prior to this season. He suffered a serious hip injury, which I think is the only reason he's even around at this point of the draft. And if the board were to shake out this way, where as it has where the Bucs have gone edge first round, like, I like the grouping of corners there. I love what you did, Darius. First off, Benjamin Morrison, I like that pick a lot. But just seeing some of the other names available in this simulation, like Noel Williams from Cal, Darian Porter is a really intriguing athlete from Iowa State who's just got a incredible upside, but it would be more of a super high risk, high reward type of pick. And then you got Parrish from K-State. So there's a bunch of solid corners there who the Bucs have done their homework on. So if it worked out like this, they'd probably be feeling pretty good about their ability to address that position in the second round, as opposed to doing so in the first round. So I really like how it kind of shook out for us.
Mm-hmm. Morrison has a lot of really good, instincts sometimes, but you got to be careful about the over pursuers kind of in college sometimes. He's a ball hawk, and Todd Bowles says that he wants ball hawks, so he can get the picks, but it'll be interesting to see how that translates to the NFL level with how aggressive he can take his angles sometimes. So I like, it's a day 2 pick. He's got a lot of talent, and that injury is something to look out for. But I'm curious to see if Todd Bowles would like a guy with the discipline that Benjamin Morrison plays with.
It'd be very, and we were listening to Jason Light, and we asked about Jamel Dean and the situation there, and I think it's become very apparent from Light that the injuries and not being able to stay healthy for Jamel Dean is something that they're keeping that they've kept a close eye on for a while now. And, we'll see if this plays a role in what they want to do in this upcoming draft this next week, because that's something that they've been dealt with Carlton Davis. Now he went over to Detroit, got injured there. Best of luck with the Patriots as well. And, Jamel Dean has always been a roller coaster ride of you get a good stride of games and then you miss him in the middle part of the season or whenever. And it kind of gets old after a while. Plays well, but you still want to have more takeaways too from Jamel Dean. So this is where I don't think a pick early on in the cornerback position is a bad idea.
And just one more thing before we move on. I think the upside here, even though the room is relatively young, it's just that talent sometimes can be irreplaceable. And like I know River was talking about over pursuing and angles and tackling, but when you have guys that are still able to produce at that high of a level, even though it's about 2 seasons ago, it's still worth taking a risk and a chance on, especially in a draft where a lot of the needs are really defensive. So you can really afford this year to take a chance on guys like him compared to past years.
Yeah, really appreciate everybody's insight there. I think it's a great pick, especially like I mentioned before, those corners going off the board, which some of those corners we probably didn't even think would potentially make it here to the second round. So very interesting there. But while I have your guys' attention, if you guys are watching on Facebook or if you guys are watching on Twitter, head over to our YouTube. Just type in BucsGameday, hit subscribe, hit like if you're enjoying what we got. That's how, we pay the bills sometimes, but it's also how you guys get notified on whether or not we are going live. We really appreciate all the love. It's also how on a regular show, we're going to get your comments, how we're going to get your questions up here as well. And that's just, the best way to be able to do that because we aren't able to bring on your comments or your questions from those other 2 platforms. So really appreciate you guys heading over to YouTube, clicking that like button, sending over your questions, your comments, everything, and subscribing as well. So really appreciate it. But we'll keep things rolling here. And round 3, this one's on me. So we're going to keep things rolling here and see where we are at.
I want to mention real quick, too, Jackson Dart going to the Panthers. Bryce Young, you thought, buddy.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually.
It looks like they traded up to get him, too, which was interesting. All right.
And they just did that with Matt Corral a couple years ago.
See, this is where I have a concern because in the 3rd round, I wanted Oladipo. And we took Jalen Walker at linebacker 1st round to potentially play that outside linebacker, which is edge in the Buccaneers and Todd Bowles' scheme. So it's kind of throwing me for a little loop here. We also have Kyle Williams, who is getting a lot of burn recently in mock drafts. And he just looks like he moves a bit differently compared to other wide receivers. And the Buccaneers aren't getting any younger at the position. And then their top two guys outside of their top 2 guys and Mike Evans and Chris, pretty young. Obviously, we were able to see what Jalen McMillan was able to do, at the end of the year with his touchdowns and pretty coming on strong. And it's might not be the biggest need right here. And they could potentially get a guy later in the draft. But I do think that bringing in a guy of Kyle Williams' stature and the way that he is able to play and the way that he moves would complement somebody like Jalen McMillan very well in case, Godwin or we know Mike is good to miss probably about 3 games pretty much every year with that hamstring injury. So Trey Palmer hasn't really developed into the type of wide receiver they had hoped. So I think with the fact that we took Jalen Walker there in the 1st round, it'll kind of take us out of the running here for Oladipo and what we want. And I'm going to go with Kyle Williams here at wide receiver and go ahead and take him.
Can I offer my opinion, Caleb?
Yeah, go ahead. I've drafted him, but go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I love the player, hate the pick, respectfully, because I think it's too early for a receiver for this team. And I would have doubled up on edge, even as crazy as that might seem for a guy like Oladipo or like Makuba, the safety for Texas, are guys that I have my eye on. But I will say Kyle Williams is a really talented player who's been shooting up draft boards, as you mentioned, and he could end up being a real dude who, is dynamite down the stretch. I'm more a little frustrated too, selfishly, because I got the 4th round pick and I liked some of the receivers I saw there. Maybe that's part of it too. But anyway, we got a good player.
No.
Yeah, Kyle Williams is interesting. Yeah, I think the Bucs have been looking for another receiver who can get separation, because I think a lot of guys like Trey Palmer have struggled really in being able to do that for a deep ball downfield. And Evans is a good jump ball guy, but Williams can get some separation and kind of stretch the field a little bit, maybe in a way they don't have a receiver who can do that. The only thing I'd say about the actual placing of the pick is that it's looking like we're going into round 4 with no inside linebacker. And that's going to be interesting, I think, because I think they're going to need to address that at some point, and it would be interesting to see them kind of go for some other needs before getting into the later rounds. But Jason Light said it's a deep level draft. So, whenever we get a pickup here, Colin, maybe you can find some good talent there or another position that you got your eye on. So we'll see how it goes.
I will allow it to be under consideration, but I refuse to force the pick based on position. I know
he's
Jason
a good
Light
GM.
wouldn't.
He's a good GM, folks. He's a good GM.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just won't do it.
I mean,
Good,
I think the pick's interesting. Mostly, the wide receiver himself is not bad. It's just I think the placement as well. I would say third round might be a little too early. Only when you really think about the makeup of the roster and the needs of the roster, a lot of defensive needs. So taking a chance on offensive talent might be more of a late round priority this year, just based off of really needing to fulfill some depth, or maybe even look for some starters and key pieces of the defense. You just have older players. Somebody was talking about inside linebacker. Levante David doesn't have a whole lot left, just as far as years. So just thinking about stuff like that could be interesting. Like the wide receiver, just not the placement.
Well, it's tough too. I mean, the wide receiver position, though, and I'm sort of on the side here with Caleb a little bit because there's not a lot of talent in the wide receiver room in this draft. So if you're going to find one, you kind of got to pick a little bit early. But the Bucs do have a little bit more needs. But I think there is going to be a big conversation once we get maybe in the training camp and such and see what they do in the draft about. You got Mike Evans. I think this is probably his last contract here. And then, looking over at Chris Godwin, you don't even know what he's going to look like. I mean, his rehab slowed down a little bit here, keeping a close eye on how he's going to look going into, the preseason is going to be very important. And we don't know yet entirely when he's going to begin his season in 2025. And then Jalen McMillan, he had a really good, nice latter half of the season, but you've got to see if he has a sophomore slump or not going into year two. And then, behind him, what do you have? You don't have much that you feel really good about. Yes, you brought in back some veterans, but I think there is going to be a big question mark because you want to load talent around your quarterback with Baker Mayfield, who had just had a career year, and that was getting the ball to a lot of his wide receivers. So, Joshua Grizzard in his first year as an offensive coordinator, it's going to be very important. Hopefully that first three and that wide receiver room stay healthy, or it's going to get a little tricky. We saw that they were able to be fine with it last season. They were able to make adjustments and such, and that worked really well with Liam Cohen. But it could be a battle for Joshua Grizzard to handle if they don't find a talent in this draft at the wide receiver room. So that's why I'm kind of over here with Caleb a tiny bit of, you got to find talent somewhere. And it's kind of hard to do that when there's not a whole ton of it in the wide receiver room in this draft.
Yeah, hard to argue, but we're going to keep on rolling here, guys. And this pick is coming to Colin. So Colin, we'll watch how the rest of this all unfolds. Interesting pick. I kind of love RJ Harvey here to Green Bay. I think that's awesome for them, but I'll keep it.
I like RJ Harvey. I like him.
RJ Harvey's a dog. I love the way he runs. So keep it moving.
A lot of good backs this year.
There are.
Tampa doesn't need one of those though.
Nope, they found theirs. Jalen Milrow, he went to the Browns there.
Yeah, it looked like it. We can roll it back up and see. There's Tez.
Riley Leonard to the Jets. That's
interesting. Missing some corners. I'm looking.
Oh, no way.
Oh.
Hold on. Let's go back up and check this out real quick.
All right.
Kobe Bryant.
Jamari Caldwell there. Some guys are slipping here.
Yeah,
Trevor's.
Jalen Monroe. Okay, we're back. So yeah.
Man, Robert Parrish, I saw somewhere. That would have been just amazing. K-State corner. Jacob Parrish, sorry. K-State corner. I think there's a Robert Parrish corner in this draft.
Pull the safeties out somewhere.
Riley Leonard to the Jazz.
Yeah, that's interesting.
There's Quindarius going off the board to the Colts. And
All right. All right,
Jalot
Caleb.
went pretty high, I think. That's interesting.
Caleb, show me who's available here. Let's have a look at the best available, and then I may have you zero in on a couple positions here. Obviously, Oladejo being there is fantastic. If that were the case, I would probably run it in, but I want to do my due diligence here, having considered the fact we have drafted a guy, Jalen Walker, we expect to play off the edge. Can you give me a look at the cornerbacks when you get a second here, Caleb?
Sure, I can.
Oh, I like me some Noel Williams and Longer Beam. I like both those guys at the top. See, now that's a decision to make because I would love to double up at the cornerback position. Noel Williams is really good value here, in my opinion. Cal defense, despite their struggles, have a couple guys who are going to get drafted in a decent range this year. Whew, that's a tough one now.
Christopher Cole on YouTube agrees with you. He says, I believe that they doubled down on defensive back, Colin.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, you can't have too many. And as you were talking about, Logan, the injury issues, and as promising as Zion McCollum was this past season, I mean, the first half of the year, he was like the number one rated PFF corner. He was ascending to be considered one of the real up-and-comers. He teetered off as the season went along, but I still think they got a bona fide starter there, and we'll really see this season if he is like an all-pro caliber guy or shout out to Bryce Pat 98. No comment needed for those watching on YouTube. Well played, Bryce Pat. I like Oladejo, okay, but what I'm gonna go with the logic here. We drafted Jalen Walker, okay, and a guy named Yaya Diaby is very similar mold to Oladejo in terms of like he was a bit of a project. He is just an incredible
raw talent.
Raw, but so much mass, so much strength, great personality. Like there's a lot of comparables there. And I love Benjamin Morrison, but we got some injury concerns there. I was already very interested in doubling up on cornerback, and I would not be shocked if the Bucs did it like they did. What was it? 2017. They took a bunch of corners, like a couple years in a row anyway. Carlton Davis and with MJ Stewart, Jamel Dean. Those couple years grouped together. What I'm saying is, give me Noel Williams out of Cal, please.
Okay,
I'd be very happy with that pick. And now I'm less mad about the Kyle Williams thing, Caleb. It actually now kind of works out.
Yeah, it did kind of work out for us there.
Yeah. SMB, thank you, Bud Cannabis, Sean Murphy Bunting.
Yeah,
so Jason Light has no issue doubling up, especially at the cornerback position for his former defensive back head coach, Todd Bowles.
Yep, and there you see Oladejo going just 2 picks later to the Steelers there. So good for you guys, Logan.
Yep, I know I had to remove the Steelers football over here, but family grew up Bucs fans, so don't worry. Not over here like hating on the Bucs, and we're covering the Bucs on site in the locker room. I pull for them. Professionally.
I don't know a lot about Noel Williams. Despite being a Florida State grad and Florida State fan myself and playing this year, we obviously struggled. They struggled with us. They struggled mightily across their whole season. But I think I did see it pop up that he was kind of one of their stronger players on their team this past season. So I don't mind it. Doubling up is not a bad idea, especially at the cornerback position, considering that Todd Bowles specifically has talked about potentially having, I'm blanking here. Move nickel
Ballhawks.
Nickelback. What's his name?
Tyke Smith.
Tyke Smith potentially moving to the back end there in the secondary, and you can have somebody play nickel that was playing there before. That was the undrafted free agent the year before. So I don't see a problem with it at all, really.
And let me just throw something else at you guys. And I wouldn't throw it at Noel Williams because he'd probably pick it off, but he was number 1 in the FBS with 7 picks in 2024. I mean, what have we heard Todd Bowles talk about anything more than he wants to generate turnovers over the course of his tenure? He was number one in the
get it done.
Number one in the ACC in passes defended. He meets their benchmarks. He's listed at 6 foot, 200 pounds. Man, I like that. He's a scrappy dude too. He's a scrappy dude, which is also an appealing trait to have in a cornerback. So I love 100%. it. I'm excited.
Especially about generating turnovers too, because I was actually just about to bring that same point up. I looked up the numbers. 7 interceptions in the ACC. Even though we know all the powers in the SEC, but that's still good.
A man after my own heart, Darius. Look at this.
Yeah, go ahead and say it, Darius.
Yeah, that's a lot of talent. I plead fifth. But that's a lot of talent. 7 picks is nothing to sneeze at. That's really, really good. And who knows all the near misses he probably had too on top of that. So I like the pick. I like the selection where it's at.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what we heard, River, when we were there in Palm Beach. We talked with Todd Bowles about it. You've got to find people, and he also talked about in Indy as well. They are looking for someone that will take the ball away. They've got to do a better job at that. Antoine Winfield got hurt last season, and that hurt them immensely, and he was one that kind of carried that load for those takeaways in a lot of different ways, but they've got to find someone through the draft, someone that's coming through college that they can help and develop and such. They need more help in that, but that's something that's been heavily pressed from Indy to Palm Beach at the NFL owners meetings. It's pretty clear what Todd Bowles wants moving forward on this defense.
It is worth mentioning that it's potentially unlikely that he'll be there in the 4th round, but he is here, so we got to do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Hey, it's our draft.
Back to back, back to back Williams.
That's why it's a mock draft.
That's right.
Exactly. All right.
I know. Sorry, Caleb. I know you're leading us. There is a question in here that I think would be good just to bring up and just to ramble on just for a second. But this one, I think, is a great conversation, even though it hides Caleb down there. Wave at us.
I think it's a really quick conversation, personally.
It's
Matthew Stafford. Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, I'll take this one if the gallery doesn't mind. Baker's definitely improving quite a bit. I think he's been comfortable in the style of offense, especially that Liam Cohen ran. And I was very impressed with his accuracy last year, the way he has chemistry with the receivers, how he can push the ball downfield, and to the tune of 41 touchdowns, which you don't back into. So he's playing some really good football. I do think, bringing this up with Bucs fans can be interesting sometimes, but I think his negative plays he generates definitely needs to improve significantly. Led the league in interceptions and then had some fumbles as well. But Stafford, I think, is a lot cleaner with the football, and he still has those physical traits maybe that Baker Mayfield doesn't have. So if I had to pick from the two, I would go with Stafford for sure.
He's got a ring.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
That's
Stafford.
interesting. You think so?
Yeah.
Wow.
I do.
Ooh, yeah. I don't know. That's
our boy
Christian
close. Will probably love that.
When you see his career stats, when it's all said and done, throw in the Lombardi, man, like that dude is still slinging it. He's a major problem. Like he is legit a gunslinger, and he's smart at the same time.
Oh, he's fantastic. Don't get me wrong.
Well, think of how long he's been doing it. He was just stuck in purgatory. No offense, River, in Detroit, like during those years. So I just think you know plenty about Matt Stafford.
Of course, but individual accolades aren't there. It's tough. He did get that ring with the Rams, which helps a lot, and by volume, pretty impressive. But with playoff success and with lack of all pros, it'll be interesting. But regardless of all that, I think we're talking about the league right now. Stafford is I'm a big Stafford fan. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. His arm talent is quite exceptional, and I think he can make just about any throw on the football field. I think there are some throws that Baker Mayfield has a little bit of trouble with. And I think Stafford doesn't have trouble with those type of things. So I'm going to go Stafford. Baker right now is a lot, he's younger and he's playing great football. So if I'm a Bucs fan, I'm still very happy and I'm bought in and sold on what he can do in this offense and how he can lead the team. Make no mistake, but Stafford's just out there hooping, man. He really is. So gotta go with that.
I mean,
maybe I got to walk back the Hall of Fame comment. I just saw he's only been at 2 Pro Bowls also, so maybe you're onto something.
Yeah, I mean that would be tough. Now, hey, listen, Troy Aikman made it without an All-Pro, but he had 4 Super Bowl rings. So
a little bit different, but
interesting conversation.
And the Bucs fans are gonna love this one because
I mean,
they actually hate it, but
down the middle.
More like that haunting cover 0 by Bowles.
And I'll put this out here too for all those Bucs fans. Todd Bowles gets a lot of flack for that, and he probably should for sure. But the play before that, Sean Murphy Bunting was covering Cooper Kupp and he slipped, and that allowed for a huge 20-yard chunk gain that got him midfield. So that drive was a disaster.
Why are you guys doing this to us?
Caleb, I don't need to see who else is getting picked. I just need to get on and hit linebackers and see who we got, because it's round 5 here and we don't have one yet.
Let's resume the draft, see where we're at in the 5th round here with River, our lead editor at BucsGameday.com, and where he is going to pick and who is he going to pick.
Was that Willie Lampkin in the 4th? Wow.
Defensive line, yeah.
San Francisco forfeited. I know why they forfeited. Okay.
River doesn't want to feel the wrath.
Safety. Let me see the linebackers. I gotta see the linebackers.
Good man, River.
You want linebackers?
Yeah, I do. But we can go down. Let me see everything.
Oh, damn.
Danny Stutzman.
There it is.
Danny Stutzman. Yeah, go Stutzman.
That's
yes. Absolutely. Stutzman can play ball. Definitely a really big hitter. Good at coverage in 6'2", and the Bucs going to need that. So, I mean, that's the big reason why you need one. And got to go there. Can hang with some really physical guys like tight ends for sure. He can do blitzes. He can shoot the gaps. I'm a big Stutzman guy, and I think the fact that he's available in here is a good pick.
I mean, that ADP at 172 is only slightly later than where the Bucs are picking, so it's probably right around where he's going to fall to. So,
and I think if he does end up there, that would be a very good pick for Tampa Bay. So I feel pretty confident in that. Glad that they can get a linebacker at that point, and it makes me feel a lot more comfortable about the other picks in the draft that we've had to this point, because now you're kind of solidified in a lot of positions that you needed.
Dare I say, I love this draft so far. I genuinely do. Danny Stutzman
man, baby.
Yeah, Dane Brugler's 3rd best inside linebacker. He projects him to be a 3rd round pick. And then we just nabbed him in the 5th.
We did.
Let's go. I mean, Bucs fans, you best believe this. Look at this. Love it.
I'm surprised he fell that far. I'm going to be honest. I mean, finalist for the Buckus Award. 5th round,
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't mind Stutzman earlier, to be completely honest with you. I like him as a linebacker, and linebacker, it's getting caught up in the Jihaad Campbell talk, right? Because obviously Jihaad Campbell's a fantastic prospect, but linebackers typically don't go in the first rounds. It's not a first round value position, and you can find those guys on day 2 and day 3. So outside of Campbell and Walker's probably going to project as an edge, right? Most teams are going to do their work there at that position later on. And so I think the Bucs have a lot of options there, which is why I kind of like the idea of going edge or corner or safety in round 1, because there's just a lot of talented linebackers. If it's not Stutzman, it could be Carson Swedginger, or, in round 2, but Stutzman's definitely a really good player. I think he'd fit right in. I think he's got really good instincts, and I like to get him here.
Man, I think just for kicks, we should, well, pun intended, I guess, draft a kicker. Just to,
why would you
in honor of Jason Light? Why don't we draft
really talking about the Bucs? Why would you say to draft a kicker? Has Roberto Aguayo and Matt Gay not taught you enough?
I was literally just about to say that.
Logan,
Logan,
who's FSU's? Give us FSU's kicker. Let's just
Ryan Fitzgerald, man. But y'all, the Bucs got McLaughlin. Y'all are just fine. I think y'all are fine.
We'll resume the draft and we'll all come together and make this last pick for the Buccaneers here in the 7th round.
I was going to mention too at linebacker just for the time being, like we hear about Spasier Dennis, and we heard about him when he first arrived. Training camp looked good. He was in the right spots at the right time as just a rookie. Health is becoming a major issue for him and not being able to stay healthy. And I don't know if this is the most important draft for linebacker. I think it's going to be next year because you still have Levante David. You brought in Anthony Walker. He's just a veteran piece, a depth piece that you have there. You want Dennis to be that guy that can be with Levante David. You have J.J. Russell, another veteran guy. But, I'm keeping a very close eye on Dennis going into this camp and going into really the season, honestly, because he's got to stay healthy, and the Bucs need him to stay healthy. They feel very highly on him, not the biggest sized linebacker, and that might be one of his issues, dealt with a shoulder injury as well. But that's becoming one of their issues here. It's what's making it to be a thing to keep a close eye on in that room is Dennis not being healthy and Levante David most likely in his last year as a Buccaneer. So I don't know if they're going to find their fix in this year's draft. I think next year is going to be very pivotal.
Yeah, quite frankly, I feel like Dennis is already getting quite a long leash the way that he's being talked about. Like they obviously believe in him or they wouldn't speak so highly of him and their belief in what he can do. But he's barely been on the field. So
that's the thing, right? Like when he's on the field, he looks pretty amazing.
Very small sample size though. So you just have to believe that he can do that over the course of a season. And I do think Dennis has a lot of potential, and I think I've seen some good stuff from him. But Bucs fans that remember, to not talk about it like he's played a full season, right?
Exactly.
He's had some limited sort of play, and to expect him to step in and take this starting role, even if he ends up doing so, and being like, a really good number 2 option to Levante David, that might not just be the case immediately. So
now, while we're just looking at the board there, I got to say Ty Robinson, D-line from Jason Light's alma mater, that jumps out at me right there. Interior defensive lineman, like nothing wrong.
I was going to point out that too, because guess who's up for possible free agency soon? Vita Vea. So if the Bucs probably want to pay Vita Vea, but if they can't give him who was it, Williams, who signed with the Patriots type money, then
Morton Williams,
then you're gonna need somebody to fill that role, and the Buccaneers don't necessarily have that, even though they have a little bit of depth, and obviously Kalijah Cansey playing there next to him, but you might look to get more depth there, a potential replacement for Vita if he does end up leaving in free agency. So I think I'm with Colin on that.
Even just the depth, right? You got rotating guys in there is the way. And I think Todd Bowles has realized he needs to be able to generate pass rush with 4. And that comes from having fresh bodies in there, not just on the edge, but in the interior as well. And having, depending on Cansey and Vea is great and all, but you got to keep those boys fresh. And then you got Logan Hall, who's primarily on the interior. If you got 4 guys you can trust out there, throw this young rookie out there and let him go to work, give the big guys a rest, and then they're going to be more fresh in the fourth quarter when it matters most. And the Bucs can rush for, maybe generate some picks from these new exciting cornerbacks we've drafted for them.
I will point out that he also learned from probably one of the best in the game in pot roast, was his coach there at Nebraska along the defensive line. So, he's learned from one of the great players to do that.
Yeah, and I would say looking at his stats and production, it's the 7th round, and I think Bucs fans get spoiled sometimes because the Bucs tend to keep a lot of their late round picks and they can make the roster, but it's not uncommon for guys picked here to kind of not make it. But you look at his production here for Ty Robinson, 21 solo tackles, 7 sacks, and a forced fumble last year. That'll get the job done. So I think getting easier in the trenches, getting some more rotation there potentially. Any pick in the 7th round is going to be low risk. So I think if you got a guy that's productive like he was at Nebraska, in a position of incredible value, which interior defensive line is, ask the Philadelphia Eagles about that. They'll probably tell you exactly the same. I think that's definitely a decent pick. Yeah.
And it's not even to like cop out, meaning to cop out because he's a top guy on the board here. It's because literally shouldn't be available right now. He could go in the 3rd round, Ty Robinson. Like, we're not going to not try our best to deliver the best rookie class we can for you, folks.
Yeah, and I think about last year when tight end from Washington we took in the 7th round. Like,
That would be
Devin Cole didn't play majority of the year, but when his number was called upon, he performed. You know, like he
did.
He was able to make plays when his number was called, and you know, the Bucs brass has been great at being able to evaluate guys even late in the draft. So if you got Ty Robinson there, shoot, I mean that's another Devin Cole situation in my opinion. If not, you know, even higher floor and even higher ceiling.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you
something about those.
I was going to ask you, Darius, real quick. Tell us, you know, behind the scenes, Eagles fan, you just won yourself a Super Bowl, but it's on to a new season. That season's over with. But, you know, tell us how important, though, a defensive lineman and the trenches right there, front 7, can do for you and change the whole organization almost for you with how successful Howard Roseman and the Eagles have been able to find success with.
I mean, you don't even have to use the Eagles. If you honestly look at the teams that finished at the end of the last 4, just look at the D lines. Just look at the talent on the D lines. You can honestly go and look at where they were drafted. A lot of those guys were homegrown. They weren't brought in. They were drafted by the teams that they played. So when it comes to Ty Robinson here, when you have guys in the 7th round, those later round picks that are more willing and really have to fight almost for their roster spot, you get a lot more energy, and it's low risk for the team. So you can kind of make it what you make it, especially if you have a solid group of vets on the team that can mentor these guys with rush techniques, rush lanes, good coaching. Bucs seem like they really have like a really good staff for D-line talent. I mean, look at Yaya Diaby. So when it comes down to it, taking him probably wouldn't be like, you know, a Hail Mary. I mean, and he was a 4-year starter. So playing 4 years, he probably got a lot of, you know, techniques, coaching, things that really will help. So yeah, I mean that's a good pick when it comes to D-line. So I mean that's what I would love. And like somebody in the comments said, you can't have enough big guys.
You can't. A lot of modern NFL teams are winning these championships in the weight room. So I'm talking about 6'6", 310 interior guy. Maybe he makes the team, maybe he doesn't. But either way, never a bad idea to gamble on that sort of thing, given how important it's been.
You go back to the Chiefs having Derek Nottie, who many people probably don't really realize how big of an impact he was in their Super Bowls. And he was kind of a later round draft pick as well. So I think I'm going to go ahead and click draft here. And I think that's going to be the right pick.
Yeah.
I like it.
D-line and O-line, you just can't really go wrong. And as I think we're learning with the last couple of Super Bowls, last couple of teams, that's really where a lot of the teams have been successful. Even the metrics say it, like O-line and D-line help. You can kind of build talent and skill position players around that. So,
Tony White too coached that defense in Nebraska and had a scheme of a 3-4, and feel like a guy with Ty Robinson, physical, can work his hands well. This would be a nice late pick for you.
Of course, my pick.
There it is, Caleb.
Tisk.
There it is. I think they've spoken.
Hey, there it is. A-
On the
still.
last pick.
A- overall.
Pretty good.
Despite the Kyle Williams reach.
I think if they got this draft, they'd be pretty happy with it.
Man, this is straight heat.
Mine's not the worst pick on here, according to PFF.
Listen, PFF doesn't. If they're not in the church of Denny Sussman, I don't know what to tell them. Okay?
Oh, now we're calling out
fine.
technology.
I am.
don't know.
I am. I think sometimes a baller is a baller. You know?
Yeah.
And him falling to the 5th, I'm surprised. So I mean, to be honest, I mean, Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, this is Chef's kiss right here. I'm standing behind it. I'm very, very pleased with this mock draft. I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Buccaneers would be happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead once we're completely off of here. Go ahead and type or screenshot this or somewhat for us, and we'll put it out there for you guys. So if you're not able to join us on the show tonight, you'll be able to see how things kind of unfolded. But if you guys are still tuned in, if you're on any other platform besides YouTube, head over to YouTube, guys. That is where you get your comments, your questions, like Christopher Cole's comments right now up on the screen. That's where we pull them from. Hit like if you like what we're talking about. Hit subscribe if you like it even more. And when you do hit subscribe, you'll be getting those notifications. Turn them on. Be getting those notifications anytime we go live, because we not only have our show every week, we have post-game live reactions during the season. We also have locker room interviews. We have post-game press conferences. We'll be there at training camp, OTAs, rookie mini camp, everything that you need to know. I know Logan, River, you guys are going to be up there at One Buck Place here in about a week as well. So give the people a little bit about your time up there in about a week real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, River. I mean, I will be at a wedding, sadly. My best friend, we're going to try this number 2, go back to Asheville whenever a hurricane hit last year, and completely picking that in the fall during football season already was a strike number 1. Now we're doing strike number 2 during the NFL draft when he knows I've got to be working that entire weekend. So we're getting really close to cutting him off. But River will be there on site. I'm sure we'll have
Absolutely.
JC Allen as well. Maybe we'll get Caleb over there for a little bit if he's got some time. But we'll have full coverage. River will get videos up here on YouTube, and we'll have tons of content going on BucsGameday.com. And shout out to the entire staff here for having a wonderful, wonderful month of giving our fans great content throughout this whole entire NFL draft journey. I mean, Colin, Caleb, y'all been here doing this for a long while so far with Bucs Game Day, and these guys do an incredible job. And shout out to Darius just joining us, and River leading the show over there as our lead editor. So River will be on site killing it. And we have tons of other ideas and we'll have tons of other ideas too for YouTube, doing instant reactions like Caleb just said. We were just in Palm Beach getting content there, and then up there in Indy. So trying to put a lot of work into this YouTube for you guys. So hitting that subscribe button, really good idea.
Absolutely. We'll be there. We'll hear from Jason Light after each pick. Typically, we'll hear from Todd Bowles. We'll hear what their thoughts are after they make these picks, and we'll deliver those thoughts to you. So excited to do that. And man, it's a long month. But now the time for talking in mock drafts just about over. It's time to get these players picked and get on this team. So excited to write about it.
Quick question though, since this is Thursday night, will y'all be doing an instant reaction to the first round pick? That's the question I think all the listeners are going to want to know once we get the articles out. Maybe an instant reaction here to who the Bucs pick first for the show.
Certainly sounds like we are.
Yeah, I mean, if the Bucs says so, then we definitely are.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's all gonna be important once you get this pick, to just how it feels in the moment. Everything we think about it, right away. So for sure,
kind of give you an idea on the direction that they're going to be going the rest of the draft as well. So definitely will be something to pay attention to, that instant reaction on Thursday night.
Yeah, I'll be there if I like the pick.
His silence will speak volumes, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
But with that being said, guys, I want to thank all of my guys here, all of our writers that we have at Bucs Game Day, everybody that joined me tonight as well. You guys are awesome. Can't do it without you. And with that being said, guys, fire